Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. I have a studio location in Forest City, North Carolina, and I have a website called offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot contain my excitement, honestly, for this video because of the fact that I'm going to be teaching you a new 3D shape that I have not taught you before, and it is how to make a new 3-dimensional rectangle using size 11 Delica beads. Now you're going to need 2 colors of Delicas. You're going to need a main color that is going to be basically the frame itself, and then you are going to need an accent color. Your accent colors are going to go in all 4 corners. So to do one rectangle, you're going to need about 1 gram or a little over 1 gram of your main color, and you're going to need less than 1 gram of your accent color. So you can see it doesn't take a ton of beads, so it's really, really fun. Now, let's talk about thread, okay? When I'm using these size 11 Delica beads, you'll want to use a size 12 needle. If you have a size 13, that's even better, okay? Now, thread is key for this project. And here's why. You know how much I love my dragon thread. Love, love, love dragon thread. So I did a couple of these samples with dragon thread. Every single one I did busted, okay? I tried one with Fireline. Got around, zipping it up, beads busted. I was like, ah! So I pulled out my 1G thread, which comes like this, pulled out the 1G, and it worked wonderfully. So I'm not saying that you can't use your dragon thread or your Fireline, but consider this your warning that more than likely your beads are going to bust as you try to do the zip up. So if you can use a 1G, a KO, a Nymo thread, a thread like that is going to be much better for you. And all the samples that I've made with my 1G has not busted or broken beads, which is amazing. Now with these rectangles, what I'm doing today, again, I'm going to show you the shape. Now next week, I'm going to actually bring an old video out of the vault. Somebody asked me a few weeks ago if I could redo my square stitch bell video from almost 13 years ago. And I was like, no, that's not one that I plan on pulling out. But as I got to playing with these earrings, I was like, oh my gosh, if I could just make this smaller, it would work perfect. So next week, I'm gonna show you how to make a square stitch bell that will then turn your 3D rectangles into earrings. So the one that you see right here, this is that Christmas mix, Christmas size 11 Delica mix that we have on the website. I love these because they are perfect for the season, and they are just all of those fun festive colors. Another one that I did, and I love these because it matches a shirt I have, is kind of this pumpkin and brown color, and I love them. And you can see how the bell just makes them hang really, really nicely, and I just love it. So next week I'll be showing you that. For my example today, just so it makes your life easier to be able to see it on the screen, I'm going to be using a size 8 Delica beads. I'm going to use the exact same counts as I did for the small one with the 11s, but I'm going to be using that 8. So you'll see the size difference in working with 11s versus with the size 8s. If you are starting out with the small one, 2 yards of thread will do 1 complete rectangle. You will not have to add thread. Now this is the first time I've actually done it with the 8s for the video, so I will probably have to add thread, but I'm going to start out with 2 yards threaded onto my needle. So grab your stash and let's get started. So again, I have my needle threaded with 2 yards of thread. Now to start out, I'm going to pick up 1 accent color. So the purple is going to be my accent. This metallic gray is going to be my main color. So I've started out with 1 accent, 5 main color, 1 accent, 19 main color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 main color. All right, then 1 accent color, 5 main color, 1 accent, and 19 main color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All right, so again, I have a main 5 accent, a main 19 accent. No, back up, sorry. 1 accent, 5 main, 1 accent, 19 main, 1 accent, 5 main, 1 accent, 19 main. So here's the first thing that you need to know about your base row. So the component itself in the size 11 seed beads, the finished component is a little over an inch that way and about 1.5 inches this way. So if you want it to be longer or wider this way, just add more counts of beads in an odd number. So here I've got 19. You could go up to 23, 25, 27, whatever. Here I started out with 5. You could go up to 7, 9, 11, kind of whatever you wanted to, as long as you add the beads in an odd number. Now your accent beads are going to remain the same count. It's just your main color beads you'll change, but make sure it's in the up and down and the side to side. So I'm going to pull these down, and the only thing I'm going to use this tail for is just to tie this together. All right, so you don't have to leave a ton of tail thread. So I'm going to take them and I'm going to tie them together. I know I'm going to get the question, why don't you go through all the beads and then tie them? The reason being is we are going to be going through this row again to do our peyote stitch, and then once we get one side done, we've got to come through this row again to then add our next side. So you want to make sure that we don't go through it a ton because we need to leave some thread space for it. Another thing is you don't want these to be so tight that your beads are kind of bumping up and, you know, like this, you know, you don't want it to be that tight. You want to leave the ring a little loose so it's got just a little play into it. If not, you're going to be saying nasty words by the end of the first or second round. So just beware. So once you had it tied together, then you're going to go through the last bead you just added, which is going to be the main color right next to the knot. All right, so I'm not going to continue into the accent color. I'm going to go back through the bead, the last bead I added, which was a main color bead. So I've got the knot and I'm going right back through that last bead. So now we're going to be working regular peyote stitch. All right, so let me get a hold of it here. Not used to working with this big of beads. So we pick up a bead, we skip a bead, and we go through a bead. And when you pull it, they should lay side by side just like that. So pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead, and again, you want them to lay side by side. So we're going to continue working up this row, picking up a bead, skipping a bead, and going through a bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, and go through a bead. Now, one thing that I have done is if you buy the actual step-by-step tutorial, which honestly to me is just amazing. I'm very, very proud of the pattern that I wrote for this one. So what I've done is at the beginning of like this step, I tell you how many beads you're actually going to pick up for the total step. This is going to be really helpful for those of you who have issues with the step up, because just like in a tubular peyote, your step up is going to move over one bead every round we do. So that can get confusing. So what I like to kind of do is go ahead and lay out my beads that I'm going to do in a row, and that's really helpful, like I said, especially if you get confused with the step up. So I also have this amazing chart on the actual pattern itself to help you know this. So what I've just done here is I've picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 beads. So I picked up 9 beads. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pick up 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So that's going to be for the other side. And so that way I know when I get around, you know, how many beads I'm going to have for that side. Now here, you can see here, I have 1 bead. This is my accent, so I'm going to pick up 2 accent colors. I'm going to skip the accent that's there, and I'm going to come through the next main color. So again, it's peyote, but I'm picking up 2 beads in this corner. This is going to become a little herringbone corner, okay? Now, back to the accent, or the main. I pick up a main, I skip 1, I go through 1. Pick up a main, skip 1, go through 1. So now I know on the other side, I'm going to have my 2 there, because that's how many I'm picking up. So now I'm going to pick up 2 accent because I'm in a corner. So I'm going to skip my accent, and I'm going to go through the main color. So again, when I do this, it's going to pop in a little herringbone corner, just like you see here. So now I know I've got my 9 main colors here already divvied out for me. So I can just pick up 1, skip 1, go through 1. All the way on this side. You see there how that's starting to work out. Okay, so when I add the last bead for this side, I'm coming out at the accent. So I pick up 2 accent, skip the accent in place, and go through the next main bead. Now I know I'm going to add 2 of my main colors here on this end. So I go ahead and I pick up a main, skip 1, go through 1. And then I pick up a main, skip 1, and go through 1. So once I finish that, I am back to an accent, because you can see here I've got 1 left. So I pick up 2 accent, skip the main, and then I come through the last bead of the row. Now the last bead of the row is going to be this one right here. Don't come through this one. That's the first bead of the row I'm working on now. I have to skip 1, go through 1. So it's this lower bead right here, the one right after my accent. Now I'm going to go ahead, because I'm going to step up as well. So I'm going to go through the last bead of the row and then the first bead of my new row. So that finishes the row and does my step up. So that when I pull that, this is what I have so far. Now, before I go any further, because it's personally, this little thread is going to drive me crazy, I'm going to take another needle, to just grab another needle, because I know you've got a stash of them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to run this thread through a few beads to get rid of that short tail thread. So that way I don't have to worry about the little tail thread. It's over, it's done, boom, I'm good to go. So that now I can just continue on working like I normally would. So that was round 2, where we picked up 2 here on the ends and we picked up 9 here. So this time total, we're going to be picking up 10 beads on each side. So if you want to, a good way to do it is to go ahead and count out my 20 beads. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, so I have my 20 beads there because I'm going to put 10 on each side. And then I'm going to have 3 beads here at the top and the bottom. So that's 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can go ahead and put my 26 beads here in a little pile. So that way when I get around to the other side, I know exactly where my step up is. So again, this is a wonderful thing for those of you who have issues with the step up. Go ahead and count your beads out. So before you even start your row, that way you'll know. So the great thing is I'm just going to peyote. So I'm just picking up a bead and going through the next bead sticking up. I'm going to do this all the way till I get up here to the accent bead. So right now it's just main colors. And if you're doing one like with a Christmas mix, or even I've got a new winter mix that we're going to be putting out. These are gorgeous in the winter mix, absolutely gorgeous. So all I would do is literally I would just randomly put the beads in a pile and pick up the beads. Now, I know some of you that is going to be super hard, but all you have to do is just pick up beads at random, and I promise you they're going to turn out amazing. So as you can see here, when I added that last main color bead, I went through an accent bead. So you'll see there, it's the accent of the first one of that set of 2. I have a little tiny baby knot here. There we go. All right, so in the corners, I'm gonna pick up 2 accent. And when I pick it up, I go right through the very next accent bead there. So I'm coming out of one, I go straight through the next one. And when I do that, I pull it tight so that they sit like this, which is like a herringbone look to them. So they'll sit just like that. So then I'm back to main color. So I pick up main. Remember on the ends, it's only 3 beads. So 1, 2, and 3, and when I add the third one, again, I'm going through the accent color here in the corner. So now it's 2 accents, come through the very next accent bead. So that when I pull the thread, like that, it does my little herringbone corner. So I'm going to peyote all the way up with this main color bead. And when you get up to the top, remember that you're going to be going through an accent bead. Okay, now I have another little chaos going on here. So the great thing is a lot of times you can just take your threads and be real gentle and just kind of pull, and a lot of times they'll pull right out, or you'll pull the knot. You just never know. If you'll wax the thread, this will help this a good bit. You won't have to worry about too many knots. As you can tell, I did not do that. So I'm gonna take just a minute to get my little knots out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my little knot out, and I just went through and I waxed it with Thread Magic. If you've never seen this before, it's a wax that you just can take, put your finger on, and it will slide right over the wax, just like that. And then you just put your cap back on. So now that I'm out here at the corner, this is where we pick up our 2 accent beads, and I go through the next accent bead. Pick up a main, go through the main, pick up a main, go through the main, pick up a main, and I'm going through the last accent. So I pick up 2 accent and I come to the next main. Now, this is where you can see here I have 1 bead left, and if I pull this up, you see right here I'm coming out of the accent, but I don't have a bead sticking up right here like I do here. So I have to pick up my last main color bead, and I come through this lower bead here, and then I do my step up by coming through the 2 beads. So if I turn it this way, I skip this one, and I go through these 2 right here. So I go through the last bead of the row, and then I step up through the first bead of the row. So that when I do that, now this is what my rectangle looks like. So now I'm going on to round 4. Round 4 is 11 beads on each side, so that is 22. So I go ahead, I'm going to count out my beads. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, so I've got my 22 beads here. And now I'm going to be putting 4 beads here and here. So that's another 8 beads. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I've got all of my main colors in a pile. Now, if you're good and you are really good with step-ups, you don't have to worry about doing this. I'm doing this for my friends who have issues with step-ups, okay? So what I'm going to do now, you see I'm starting not at the beginning of the row, but kind of in the middle here. Let me slide these over, and let me slide the other ones out of the way. So we work in regular peyote. Just picking up from our pile, I'm working to the end. Now, just like I did in the previous row, when I get to the end of this row or this side, I will be going through an accent bead. So I'll be picking up a main color and going through an accent. So I pick up my main color and I take the needle, and you can see right here, I'm going right through that accent bead. So when I pull this, that pops into place now. And since I'm in a corner, I always pick up 2 in the corner. So 2 and go through. So I'm going to keep working the row, adding in my main colors and my accents until I get back over here, and I'm going to show you the step up. As you can see, I've gone all the way around. I've added my last 2 accent colors from the corners, and you can see here I still have 2 of my main colors left. So what this means is I have to pick up a main color and go through the next bead sticking up just like I normally would. And then this last bead that I have, this is my step up. All right, so I'm coming out of this bead. If I skip a bead, go through a bead just like peyote, I'm going to be going through this bead right here. This is the last bead of the round. Now to do my step up, I'll need to come through these 2 beads here. So I go through 1 and 2 so that that finishes it up for the round. So that when you pull that, this is what your rectangle is going to look like. Now you can see here at this point, it's starting to almost do like a warped triangle a little bit. or you know, those warped squares, warped triangles. Don't worry if yours starts doing that. That just means that you are a tight beader. I promise you it will work out, so no worries. So we're going to do the last side, or the last row for this side. So on the sides, I'll be picking up 12 of my main colors. Okay, so that's 24. So I have 24 here. Now, on the top and the bottom, I'm going to be picking up 5, so that's another 10 added to my stack. So now I have all my main colors. Now, the one difference that we are going to do here in this round is, instead of adding our 2 accent beads, we're only going to add 1 accent bead here in each corner. So I'm going to stitch up here, and then I'm going to demo how we're going to add just that 1 bead. As you can see, I have peyoteed up to this point, and I'm coming out of an accent bead here in the point. So now I'm only going to pick up 1 accent bead instead of 2, and I'm going to take my needle and go through the very next accent bead, so that when I do, that gives me that cute little point there that I have now. And this is going to really come in handy when we get ready to do our connections. So I'm just going to continue to peyote, putting the 1 accent in each corner and finishing up my main color beads. So I'm on this last row that I've worked. I've got 1 spot left here. So I'm coming out of this bead. If I do skip a bead, go through a bead, I'm going to go through this bead right here. Now the difference is, I am not going to do a step up this time. I'm only going to go through the 1 bead. Now, I'm going to go up through the bead right diagonal here. Then I'm going to come back in the other direction, and I'm going to come through these 2 beads right here, this one and this one, so that I'm now coming out in the center of my rectangle. Now we finished 1 complete side here, and we're going to work on the second side. So this is what's going to make it 3-dimensional. So I'm going to be working in the opposite direction. And the one thing that's going to be different for this row is I pick up my main, go through the main sticking up just like I normally would. Whoops, sorry. But our corners for this row are going to be different. When we come to an accent bead here in the corner, we pick up a main and go through the accent. Okay. Then we pick up a main and go through the next main color. So this row, we will not actually be adding any accent beads. So I'm going to pick up main, go through main, and then when I get here to my accent, I pick up the accent and I go through the main color, pull it through, pick up a main color, pull it through. So see, I'm not adding any accent beads on this row. So I'm going to work all the way around, putting in my main color beads until I get back to where I started, which is going to be right here. This is the first bead of my row, so this will be the last bead that I'm going to put in. So I have gone all the way around, putting in my main colors, and I'm back here to, remember where I told you, right here was where our first bead of the row, so this is where our last bead has to go. So I go through the lower bead and then the upper bead. So I'm going through these 2 beads right here to do my step up. So for those of you who maybe have a hard time with this, we added 26 total beads on the row. So you can go through and you can count your beads if that helps, the one sticking up. But that is where our step up is. All right, so now all of these beads should be starting I put it down like this, they should be starting to kind of stick up a little bit like this. They probably won't lay completely down. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start working regular peyote again with accents in my mains. So here in the center, going up and down, I'm gonna be picking up 9 beads. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a pile of 18 beads total. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so I have my 18 beads for the sides. And then here at the top and the bottom, I'm gonna put in 2 beads. So I'm gonna put 2 and 4. So this is my main color pile for the row. So as we get started back here, you'll notice what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up a main color and I come through the next main color. Well, when I come out right there, I'm coming out at a corner. I can see the accents right here. So what I'm gonna do this time is I pick up 2 accent, and then I'm gonna skip that little lower accent and I'm gonna come straight through the next main bead. So what'll happen when I pull these, they're going to sit just like the ones that are gonna be below it. So you see there where those now pop into place. So I pick up my main colors, come through till I get to that next corner. And then when I get to my corner, this is where I pick up 2 accent beads, skip the little accent bead, that single one, and I come through the next main color. So that when I pull that, now that gives me a little herringbone start to this corner. So I'm going to continue around putting in my main colors and my accents until I get back over here. So now I have gone all the way around. You see my piece no longer completely lays flat here in the center. They should clearly be sitting up like little fortress walls now, like the walls of Jericho, I can imagine, used to be just sitting straight up, and that's what you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm picking up my last bead on the row here. And if I kind of hold it this way, you can see this bead sticking up is my first bead. This right here is where my last bead is going to go. So I pick the bead up and I go through the last bead of the row. And by this point, you might not be able to get through your last bead and the step up again. So I got to go through the last bead and then I go through the next bead here, which is going to be my step up for the row. So looks like this. Now I'm ready for what is row 8. Row 8 is going to be this inner row. I'm going to be picking up 10 beads on my sides, 10 beads each. And here at the top and the bottom, I'm going to be picking up 3 beads each. So I have my little pile here of 26 beads. I'm going to work this row just like the other rows. I'm going to put 2 accents in each corner along with all of my mains. So once you complete this row, you'll notice that your row does not stand, or it should not stand straight up and down anymore. It should be folding over, just like you see the sides here. They're folding over. They're no longer straight up and down. And that's what should be happening at this point, because we only have one more row to do on this side. So for this side, this last row, you're going to be picking up 11 beads on the long side, and you're going to be picking up 4 beads each on the top and the bottom. Still adding our 2 accents in each corner. Once you complete this round, this is what your piece should look like. And you'll notice here that your step up was right before your accent beads. So now we are ready to do row 10, which is what I call the zip up round. So we have our frame completed. Now we have to zip it up. So if you will notice here, and I'm going to hold it like this. Currently, my thread is coming out on the left side here, and it's coming out of a main color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across to the main color that's on this right hand side, and I'm going to go through that bead. I'm going to go through the accent on the left, and then my one bead sticking up here, my point bead on the right. Accent on the left. And if I push them together, you can see here how they're zigzagged, and I'm going to be going through the beads that are sticking up. Now, here is where, if you did not heed my warning about using the fire line and the dragon thread, first, I'm going to say bless your heart, and second, I'm going to say this right here is where you need to use extreme caution. The ends are where I found the breakage with the fire line and the dragon thread. So as you work this, if you used your fire line or your dragon thread, be very careful, especially if you are using a matte finish bead, because you will hear a pop and it will break, and you will be oh so upset, because there's no way it's going to be so tight by that point. There's going to be no way to go in and add a bead in there without busting something else. So it's either, hey, how can I fudge this and hide this, or start over. So you can see here, I'm just going zigzag back and forth through the bead sticking up. So I'm here to a corner, so I'm going to go through the bead sticking up, which is going to be an accent on the left, through my point bead on the right, and then accent on the left. And then putting those together, you can see the zigzag there. I'm going to go around the whole rest of the piece, zipping it up just like I've done here. So once you have it zipped all the way around, you will have your completed three-dimensional rectangle. So, of course, yours is going to be with 11s, which is a lot smaller than the big one. But once I finished it, I just stitched my thread through several beads and trimmed it off. There's no need to tie anything because you have stitched through so many beads. So these are the exact same counts, just with two different size beads. So you can see that this one here is going to be about 1.25 inches this way, and almost 3 inches this way. So it's a pretty good size difference in what you have there. But I hope you enjoyed your three-dimensional rectangle. So friends, I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this new three-dimensional rectangle. I know I was super excited when I figured it out, and I loved it, and I hope you did too. Now, if you want to make yours into earrings like I did in this video, make sure to come back next week where you'll learn how to make the bell to go on the earrings. Now, the great thing about the bell, it can be made bigger so that you can use it for various other projects, not just this little rectangle. I do have a step-by-step tutorial that goes along with the rectangle. I'm super proud of the tutorial. It's about 13 some odd pages, and you can find that tutorial at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. I promise you will not be disappointed with it. You will really, really like the pattern that goes along with this. Now, this video will release, I believe, on November 21st, and that is the week of Thanksgiving here in the United States. So, on November 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022, everything on our website is going to be 25% off. No coupon code needed. So all you have to do is go to offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com and shop, and the discount will be taken off at checkout. And again, that is November 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022. Everything on our website is 25% off. So those in America, I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving. For those of you not in America, then I hope you have a fabulous week, and we will see you again next time. Bye-bye.